been a long time. Been a long time since I did a coffee time. Uh, it's been a minute, so appreciate you guys as always that come and watch the live, that watch the playback of the live. Take a ride with me this morning while I go to this spot. But I don't even know which number coffee time this is. This coffee time with Kill. I actually, as nice as it is, as hot as it is, I actually legitimately got a cup of coffee from Wawa this morning. But anyway, because I didn't do a show on it, just want to just talk about the P. Diddy trial, Puffy, the Sean Combs trial, Southern District, United States government, represented by the Southern District of New York, and against Puff Daddy, P. Diddy. Wow. I'm not going to say I'm surprised at the verdict. Most people will say that the verdict was an overreach and it's an overcharge, but majority of prosecutions do an overcharge. And the reason why they do an overcharge is that's how they try to get you to plead to a lesser charge. Very common tactic, definitely in state courts. Federal courts, they don't really lose. Majority of people do not beat federal crimes. Southern District, New York, I think has a high 90% conviction rate. Because what they'll do is, like I said, they'll overcharge. Or when they got you, My thoughts on the Diddy trial, right, is interesting. Because for years, most people have always heard a lot of stuff about Diddy, this, that, and forth, right, wrong, or true, and most stuff that people always heard was bad, and nobody never heard nothing good. Like I said before, I only know one person that I know personally that said they know him, and they didn't say anything bad. They actually said that he's a nice young man, because this person is actually older than Diddy. But my thoughts on it is, I was surprised that the judge didn't give him any bail, because the Mann Act really, for lack of better words, it's archaic. The only reason why the Mann Act, he was charged with the Mann Act, number one, is because it had it was a predicated charge, and the RICO was basically what they call the governing charge. I mean, I'm quite sure most of you guys have seen it. One thing about this case is it's been everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. Major news networks, they got a lot of lawyers, a lot of ex-prosecutors. They all brought their experts in on this case, and so I'm quite sure that everybody, but definitely by now, is, if they're not interested, or if they're even interested, they've gotten their professional or expert spin on the case. But I personally think the whole thing was very interesting, very telling. One of the things that I picked up on is a lot of people said, "Oh, the prosecution messed up this case. With the overcharging, it was never a RICO, this, that, and third." Like I said, criminal federal cases, people don't get found not guilty. It's very, very rare, because usually, people that have ever been charged with a criminal crime, they'll tell you when they got you. They usually don't even get you an indictment. And most people, before you even get arrested, you got an unsealed federal indictment, because they investigated, they got you committing some crimes, either via tape, via recording, or whatever. But one thing I'm gonna say about this Diddy trial is, and some people are saying that he might get charged again for something, which would be interesting, because really, This reeks personal. When you think about it, this something's not, as they say, passing the smell test with this case. Because when I say this, right, is it the federal government, when they come after you, like I said, they got, and when you hear all these people, these experts say, oh, they messed up the case, the feds don't mess up cases. They don't intentionally sabotage their own case. There are some things that I think they did wrong. If they, one of the things that my sister told me from the door was like, yo, Cassie's co-defendant. So maybe they probably should have charged Cassie and a bunch of other people and then probably tried to get them to flip. But even if you look at Cassie's statement, even with her lies, she basically never threw him under the bus. As they say, she knew where the bodies was buried. She didn't tell them about anything that she may have thought of happening. That goes back to, like I said, one of the things that's interesting about him is that we always heard, and that's why we need to be careful of always hearing about somebody and it's always innuendo. This whole case was nothing but innuendo and rumors. Diddy got arrested, basically. He got charged basically because of the video. We all saw the video when he beat up Cassie in the hotel, in the lobby. Nobody in their right mind is going to say he was in the right doing that. We all know he was in the wrong. And that was a clear domestic violence. Open, shut door. But he wasn't charged with domestic violence. Whether you think he's a monster for that or not, he wasn't charged for that. But the issue is, most of the time, this whole thing was nothing but innuendo and them creating this narrative that he was the worst of the worst. He had to get taken off the street, no matter what. All these bottles of baby oil. Then when they talked about the guns, they mentioned the guns that was found, but they didn't mention that the guns was found at the security with his armed security on his property in a safe location, locked away. He didn't even have access to the guns. The security had access to it. So it just goes to show, man, that, they tried this case in the media. They tried to get the public to hate him and to vilify him. And, them jurors, man, stuck to their guns. Now, in the Cassie, the one case that he got found guilty of the Mann Act with Cassie, most people don't understand it. This one count, because it's been past 5 years, it got to get thrown out. The only time that it can either be used if found not guilty. So that one count is probably going to get thrown out. So the other count, some people want him to go to jail forever. Some people want him to burn, which is crazy. But our justice system has laws, has guidelines. Definitely that federal system. It has guidelines. First offender. He's on the lowest scale of the sentence guidelines. And at the end of the day, whatever somebody said about Diddy is, when it comes to that prison system, when it comes to that culture of criminality and understanding what goes on, is that he's solid. He's solid. He never told it. He never folded. People said, oh, he had a whole bunch of incriminating evidence on powerful people. Well, if he did, they never presented it to him and he didn't tell. If they used it and that's what they really wanted to raid his house for, he didn't tell. He didn't tell, So it's interesting. The whole case is interesting. The whole case is, and this is what they do, Most people are just happy because a black man beat the feds. Because this is not common, You would think it was, you would think that they would have had, quote unquote, more on them. So now that puts all that stuff to bed. All the he did this, he did that, all that stuff needs to get put to bed. All the innuendo about him, all the rumors about what he done did, he's an awful person. Let's be honest, man. He's in the music industry. Anybody in that music industry, you're either going to be known as cutthroat, definitely when you're an executive. You're going to be known as cutthroat. You're going to be disliked. Here's a younger guy exposed to a lot of money, a lot of influence, a lot of power. I'm quite sure if he was making the mistakes that a lot of us make, even on a higher scale, enhanced with the money and the power and control, I'm quite sure it's a lot of people that he did dirty. But at the end of the day, the innuendo and the rumors, we can put that to bed. There's been a lot of things, man, that was said about that man. A lot of accusations. A lot of people said, oh, he was messing with the little people. None of that has been proven. None of that came forth. And people could, continue with rumors and innuendo. But at the end of the day, if anybody had anything on him, that he abused them or did anything to them, they could have went to the feds and said something. They could have gave it what they call in criminal trial, they could have gave it what they say is what they call a superseding indictment, where he could have been indicted on more charges. They could have added to the indictment. It's a whole bunch of stuff that could have happened. So if it was quote unquote other victims that wanted to get at him criminally, they could have came forth. So, there's a lot of people that did a lot of talking, a lot of people that created content off of him alone, off of innuendo and rumors. We could put that to bed, man. Because that's neither here nor there. We could put that to bed. Because at the end of the day, man, if you had something on that man and that man did you wrong, and it was a criminal charge, and it is no statute of limitations when it's a predicated charge attached with the RICO. So no matter what type of charge it was, if he did something to you, you could have, if you felt as though that was best, you could have got in touch with the feds, told them, gave them dates, if you was being honest. Even in that case, a lot of the Puffy case, even the witnesses was getting caught in blatant lies, getting dates mixed up. Girl said that he put him over the balcony and the man was in New York at the time. She said it happened in California. It was known that he was in New York because they had a Bad Boys conference in New Jersey at the time. Then you got some of us that saw it for what it was, that this was a money grab. And that's a cautionary tale for a lot of black men that's in power. A lot of black men that have, some money, they need to start taking themselves, having some discipline, holding themselves accountable. That goes to any man in particular, men in general. Being able how to move and navigate, doing what you're doing, or you got an appetite for multiple women and this, that, and the third. Basically they took freak offs to trial. That's what was on trial, freak offs. So we just need to be mindful, know how to navigate and know how to move and know how to, if that's what you're into. Definitely when you consider the market. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That in some aspects you may not even have to have what you consider any money. But somebody may view you as the mark. This new generation in the last 30, 40 years, it's all about the bag. So if somebody feel like, you're a mark and you're in the way of them getting the bag, they're going to line you up. You can set yourself up, but they're going to line you up. But that's my thoughts on Diddy. Like, I don't, I personally think the judge, based off of all the circumstances, the judge probably give him time served, 5 years probation, heavy probation, drug monitoring. I do think Diddy, as far as the entertainment, I think he's gonna make a comeback. That's a whole nother story, but I think he's gonna make a comeback. I think he's gonna make a comeback, and I think he's gonna make a comeback because so many people have vilified him. So many people aren't objective enough to be able to assess his situation. You even heard it. You heard a lot of news outlets, man. I seen Nancy Grace, man. She looked like it was fire coming out of her ears, but she was disappointed. This, that, and the third. The stuff that Nancy Grace be on. I don't want to give her my platform, but some people let their venom, their racism, their hatred for Puffy dictate their assessment of the case. Some don't know how to look at the objective or give an objective opinion. Definitely for those that wasn't in the courthouse, there was a lot of content creators that was able to give an objective opinion. Legacy media, it's like they wanted him to go to jail. They wanted him to compare him to other people. Nah, he's a one-off. He's not comparable to nobody. This is United States versus Sean Combs. It's not United States versus the culture. It wasn't United States versus this one and that one. It was United States versus Sean Combs. But with that, man, you guys have a great day, man. And hopefully I see you guys soon with some content later.